Annihilation is directed by Alex Garland, the same man behind the phenomenal science fiction film Ex Machina that came out in 2014. This movie follows a biologist who is portrayed by Natalie Portman, and she volunteers for an expedition into this location called the Shimmer that is quickly growing and continuing to evolve. She has a personal connection to this location, and she goes in with 4 other women to see if they can find answers to this phenomenon. Ex Machina is a phenomenal science fiction film in its own right, but let alone to be a directorial debut, that is just something truly remarkable. So because of the amount of prowess he was able to put on display with that film, he really started to pique my interest, and as a result, I was pretty much on board with whatever project he wanted to take on, which just so happens to be an adaptation of this trilogy of books. Annihilation is a movie that I personally wanted to take some time to really digest. I could have run home and immediately just given my thoughts on the movie, but I didn't really want to do that. I wanted to let it marinate. I really wanted to let it process. And I will say this, Annihilation is not for everyone. This movie is pure science fiction in the truest meaning of the word. This is a movie that will probably enrage a lot of people. This is a movie that will leave some confused and perhaps make them have more questions than answers. And I really loved it because of that. I think what's really fantastic about Annihilation is the fact that you could have 10 different people who go and see this movie, and each and every one of them could get something different out of it and have their own theories on what it actually means, but they could all be right. And there was another movie that came out last year that had a lot of different theories about what it actually meant, and it was marketed as a horror movie, so when people went into it and they were disappointed, they really started to hate on this film, and they labeled it as pretentious, which is a possibility with this movie. And I would say that if you are wanting to go see this movie because you think it is a horror film, I would probably pull back some of those expectations, because this is a movie that has some incredibly effective, horrific moments, but it is not a horror movie really at all. This is a horrifying movie, but it's not a horror movie, if that makes sense. For example, there's one moment involving a bear that I thought was incredibly unsettling and very effective. There's also some extremely chilling body horror in this movie that harkens back to some stuff that Cronenberg has done, or even some of Carpenter's works. I will say this though, much like last year's The Killing of a Sacred Deer, I do think that there is some enjoyment to be had with this movie, even if you're not a person who really picks up on some imagery or some symbolism or some deep-rooted themes. I do think that you won't be completely lost. However, when the third act comes around, it is when it starts to get in some really high concept type science fiction things that you'll probably be like, what? And I think some people, when they leave Annihilation, they will probably draw some connections between this and Arrival. In both films, you have an incredibly intelligent professor who, because of their military background, are granted access into this otherworldly location where they have to grapple with some personal experiences. And then towards the third act, some really crazy stuff starts to happen, but I'm not going to spoil that here. Again, that's just really surface level similarities, but I do think that is something someone might draw a connection between the two. And with that being said, if you liked Arrival, I do think that you'll like this movie as well. And there are multiple phenomenal aspects about this movie, one of which being the performances. Natalie Portman is quite excellent in this film. Her character is dealing with a lot of guilt in this movie, and there are some flashbacks that really give her character a lot of depth and really expand on her motivation as to why she volunteers to go into the Shimmer. She continues to prove herself time and time again that she is one of the most versatile and talented actresses working today. Jennifer Jason Leigh is also really great in this movie. She gives a very cold and understated performance that walks the edge between being stilted and one note and then being understated. I think that she is able to balance the two really marvelously. And I've got to commend this movie for having an ensemble cast and giving each and every one of these characters a distinct arc in this movie. I thought it would perhaps be a situation where these characters are really just fodder for these creatures to brutally devour, but no, the quite opposite is true. Each and every one of them has a distinct personality and an arc that their character goes on throughout the duration of the film. I'm really glad that I waited to review this movie. I think that this is a film that the more I think about it, the more I like it. I think this film will encourage dozens of video essays and online think pieces about what the lighthouse means and what the grander picture of this film means. I have some theories myself. I think what Alex Garland is able to pull off in this film is really remarkable. And if you are a science fiction fan, can, then I strongly implore you to seek out this movie. This is a type of film that we do not get often. So did you guys see Annihilation? What did you think about it? Leave your thoughts and opinions down below. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching today. I hope you liked today's video. And if you did, you can click on the link down below and subscribe to my channel to see more movie reviews and movie related things. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching and see you next time.